on. I think it's working. Alright, our fire station's as mucky as a pig pen. Ordinarily, we just break out a few crates of the cold stuff and let the strong arms and hoses have at it. But what with being sent here, there, and everywhere in search of the mayor's dang cat, we just don't have the time. I'm messaging you from the lower branches of an oak tree at Great River that I can hardly see has no cat in it. Your name came highly recommended. Thanks, Denver. Alright. Okay, Denver. Now, is this a man named Denver? Or
Who knows?
is this the Denver in the state of Colorado or something? Co-op. Confirm. Alright.
Done.
I'd like to invite a friend. This one. Alright. Well, when you pick a color like that, it's hard to tell if this thing is getting any cleaner. This is gonna be a nightmare. Wow, I got a little thing. I got the base of the wall.
Congratulations.
That is all that I have gotten done.
What? Oh, I got the door frame cleaned.
Oh, the wall. The wall is clean.
Oh.
It really showed that door what for. I think I might have an idea.
Alrighty, what is it?
You and I will both each kind of take turns. We're gonna go with now this doesn't have to be a completely accurate list, but I'm thinking like kind of a we'll do like for now we'll say like 5 of your top 5 favorite games and why, and we'll both take turns naming a game that is very important to each of us, to you and to me, and why don't you go first?
Okay. So it's not in any particular order, right? It's just 5 games.
No particular order. Just any of the five games that really stand out to you. And this can be a franchise or one specific game that stood out to you, and just kind of, say why that would be up there for you.
Well, let's start with an easy one here. Red Dead Redemption 2.
All right. Yes, I can definitely agree. That is definitely up there.
I mean, even
And
the first one's up there too. Both Red Dead Redemption games are just phenomenal games.
yeah, but let's just say that specifically Red Dead Redemption 2. I mean, both of them are really good, but when you compare the two, the first one does not even compare to the second one. I mean, they really it's a good thing that they were willing to go through so much effort to make it even better. Um, because that's what game design really should be. Uh, is just kind of taking in um, what people loved about the original, or I guess technically it's not the original, but taking in what people loved about the first Red Dead Redemption and adding more to it. I mean, there's so much about it that is I mean, some of it is the same, but a lot of the gameplay is very different, and yet it works because it's not so different that it's like, is this even a Red Dead game? It works for what the game is. Um, but I'm still in some of your thunder. This is I've given some of my. By the way, you're free to give some of your input on uh, the games and stuff, but mostly you're supposed to be giving the input on this game because you brought it up. But I kind of came in and interrupted a little bit. But you go ahead. Go ahead.
I mean, it was just really. I mean, the story was really cool, even after taking place before the first one. Actually, getting to see the gang before Red Dead Redemption 1, see what happened to the gang. I think it was just a really cool story. And the fact that they decided to go with a new protagonist in the second game instead of sticking with the same one, I think that was a pretty cool decision that actually ended up working out really well for him.
Definitely. Red Dead Redemption 2 was definitely kind of a game changer, and I feel like there was a lot of games after it that kind of used sort of the same recipe. Like, it was definitely a game that uh, inspired a lot of other titles to kind of do the same thing almost. As far as like gameplay, it was sort of a blueprint to a lot of modern games. Um,
Yeah.
and it really expanded on this new play style and everything. Um, and and Red Dead is a lot of fun because, like, obviously, I mean, I know that people often say, like, oh, it's basically just Grand Theft Auto, but it's Western. And as far as gameplay wise, it kind of is. However, it's mostly it's a little it takes itself a little bit more seriously than Grand Theft Auto does. And even then, the game still kind of has this sort of Grand Theft Auto humor sometimes. Like, the
Right.
whole, like, oh, if you hit something the wrong way with your horse, your horse is gonna fall over. Um, so it definitely. I mean, it's realistic a little bit, but also that whole idea is just kind of funny to me, and I just think that it's interesting because when the game came out, I had never before played any of the Red Dead games. I hadn't played the first Red Dead Redemption. I had never played Red Dead Revolver. Um, so the whole universe of Red Dead was entirely new to me. Um, but even when it was announced, just looking at the screenshots for this game, it looked absolutely gorgeous. And like, I'm not a huge Western type of guy, but at the same time, I was very intrigued by the Western style. Um, and so I wanted to try it out because this was something that looked beautiful and was extremely well hyped and everything. And then to play it, and even though I didn't have any idea what was actually going on, um, the story was absolutely gorgeous. And after playing through the second game, I went. I wanted to go back and play the first one to compare, and the first one is good. Going back and playing the first one, um, it's a good game, but definitely nowhere near what Red Dead Redemption 2 is. I mean, I will say the only thing is I would have loved if they would have made an Undead Nightmare DLC
Oh, that would
cuz
have been so cool.
because Undead Nightmare is a lot of fun, and I would say it's kind of um it's not necessarily a very serious DLC or anything. Like, it is definitely kind of the same sort of silly type of add-on that's kind of like uh sort of the same tone as like Black Ops Zombies sort of thing. It's not a serious add-on to the game, but it is a fun little thing that gamers can enjoy other than playing the main game mode. Um,
Yeah.
and I thought that would have been a nice little touch. However, Red Dead Redemption, as its own game, never minding any add-ons or anything like that, Red Dead Redemption 2 is definitely a huge step over the original Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah.
That is true, and I like the online, but and I will say it has definitely improved from what it was, because originally it was very frustrating when you as a gamer are trying to just do your own thing, and there are other players that are just trolling and everything and coming in and just ruining all your fun. That does a that kind of ruins the experience. Like, that's where like GTA Online definitely kind of had it beat. Um,
Debatable.
well, I don't know. Because at least GTA Online, it gave you options. Like, if you wanted to be in a public party where you could play with other people, you had that option. However, you also had the option to just invite your friends and just be in a single server with just your friends, or you could be in a server on your own, or whatever the case may be. I will say that sometimes the missions can be a little wonky. Um, However, I do like that Red Dead seems to give you more options as far as missions, because it seems that GTA kind of forces you to do missions with four people. And there are a few missions that you can do with just two, um, but there's only a few of them. And then once you've played them all, it's like you have the option to go back and play those same missions, but then that's it. There's no more variety after that. Red Dead Redemption, on the other hand, you're not forced to play with a bunch of people, um, and there's a little bit more variety. As
Anyway, that's my first game. So, what's your first game?
okay, I think this is a very obvious one, um, but I love, and I think everybody kind of knows this about me at this point, but I absolutely love the Legacy of Kain series. Now,
Uh, uh,
I'm going to be a little bit more specific and say, especially Soul Reaver, the original Soul Reaver game. And I think there's a lot of people, even if they haven't played the entire Legacy of Kain series, there's a lot of people who remember the original Soul Reaver game. And that is like one of the that's a very important PlayStation 1 title. Um Even though it was made on other platforms, of course, but specifically on PlayStation 1, there's a lot of people who remember that title very well, and for good reason. Um, I could sit here and talk about the whole series all day, um, but I'm gonna focus right now. I'm gonna focus just on the the original Soul Reaver game. But First off, obviously, is storyline taking place thousands of years after the original Blood Omen game. And instead of you playing as Cain, who was the antagonist in Blood Omen, or the protagonist, sorry, he was the protagonist in Blood Omen, and he becomes the antagonist in Soul Reaver 1. It's a very interesting change, and you play as a completely different character. And it's a very interesting idea because, like, the idea of, like, vampires, like, to be honest, I don't really care for a lot of vampire media, especially not nowadays, because it's become something so stupid and kind of corny. And it's like everybody wants to do like romance now, and the vampires have to be beautiful. And I'm not just talking about Twilight; it's literally like everything now. But um, it's a very interesting take on vampires. Because instead of just the typical like Dracula in Transylvania type of thing. You get a very gothic medieval style of vampires, um, that have a lot of unique abilities, and um, specifically about Soul Reaver 1 is the idea that um, our protagonist Raziel can become a wraith after becoming a vampire and everything. He becomes a wraith and then is sent to take revenge on his master. That's a very interesting storyline and everything. Um, and just the idea of like what his brothers become and how they evolve into these grotesque looking monsters that are still vampires, but they're just so monstrous and evil looking. Um, but it's a very interesting take, and what's very interesting about Soul Reaver 1 is that it technically wasn't even really finished. They had so much more planned for it, but they just had to kind of cut the game short, and yet what they were able to do was was really well done for what the game is, and ended up getting a sequel and everything. Um, but also, there's voice acting. They picked an absolutely incredible cast for the voice acting. I mean, they really wanted um, they really wanted a team who could do some incredible voice lines, and they really did a good job picking people. And because like one of the flaws with the first Blood Omen is, I mean, uh, they had a few people in the cast who were good voice actors, and then they had a few others who were not so good, in my opinion. Uh, but anyways, voice cast is awesome. The gameplay, while somewhat dated, is still pretty solid gameplay. The only thing I would say, like, it does seem like the gameplay is very basic at times, but I would say that the gameplay um, is it's pretty solid. You know, it's never really frustrating. The only thing I would say can be frustrating at times would be the platforming. That platforming can be very frustrating, especially depending on what platform you're using. If you're playing on PC, that's when it gets extremely infuriating. And yes, you could have the option of using a gamepad or something, but not all gamepads are going to work for an older game like Soul Reaver 1. Um, but if you were playing on the PlayStation or the Dreamcast, you were able to do platforming decently well enough. Combat was pretty good. I do like that they give you options as to how to kill your enemies and stuff. That is really cool. Um, and one of the most impressive things I would say would be the ability to shift between the physical and spectral realm. The physical realm, obviously, looking more like our own world and everything. Everything looks normal, but then you shift into the spectral realm and everything gets all warped and weird and everything. Um, but that ability is so cool, um, and that's probably like one of the biggest reasons why the game was so enjoyable to play. Um, and then along the way, you get so many other abilities and stuff, and you have a world that is, yeah, that you're able to explore pretty well. Um, but I think there's a lot of talk about a Legacy of Kain game being remade or them making a new Legacy of Kain game. I think there's a lot of people who specifically want Soul Reaver to be remade, and I'll admit that one is probably the most important one that I would want remade. I would prefer that the whole series get remade or a reboot or something like that. But say that it is just Soul Reaver 1. I think that that would have a lot of potential in being made into a great game, but they got to do it right. They cannot just do a simple like graphics upgrade and just leave it at that. I feel like they definitely need to um, go back and kind of rework the gameplay just a little bit, because while the gameplay was pretty solid, um, it was still it was very basic, and I think they could add a lot more to that. The puzzles were good. I would say something that could really need some work on though are the stupid little block puzzles. Those got very old very quickly. I did not like the block puzzles. The rest of the puzzles were good, but having to sit there and drag these blocks around for hours got extremely irritating. Um, if they could make like something like that would need to be rethought out. Like you can have something sort of like that, but make it a little bit easier to move the blocks around, make it faster or something. I don't know. Just make it less tedious to do something like that. Um, the combat, the combat's very, you know, the combat's good and everything. I just think that they need to add more, like they need to add more like combat uh, combos or something like that. You know, they have options on how to kill your enemies, but other than that, it's just kind of the same repetitive combo, and then you you kill them with a torch, or you throw them in water, or you throw them in sunlight, or you stab them with a spear, or whatever. You know, it eventually it kind of becomes the same thing over and over again. But if they could add more to it, the combat would be so much more enjoyable. I think give the player more of a reason to get in battles and stuff. Um, and I think that's basically it. Oh, definitely the platforming needs to be fixed for sure. But other than that, uh, Soul Reaver One is definitely still to this day a very solid game. Uh, that I think uh, might deserve a remake. Yeah, the thing about the platforming is like um, they're a little rude to the players sometimes because like when when Raziel doesn't quite make it to the ledge, he just slides all the way down. You and like Raziel has the option to like glide and everything, but if Raziel slides down, it won't let you just glide to save yourself. You will fall all the way down. And that was always a little bit irritating to me. Because, like, what in the world? Why are you making me fall all the way down instead of letting me grab my wings? You are literally taking away the control.
I didn't quite like the camera controls either. That kind of bothered me.
Yeah, and I get that because definitely, especially during like especially the original Soul Reaver game, um, you just had uh, the trigger buttons to turn your camera, and they turn the camera so slowly, and that's all the control you really have, unless you want to go into like Raziel's uh, first person view and look around, but that's all the control over the camera you really have. There's nothing else other than that. And yeah, I'll admit that's kind of frustrating at times. Uh, I forgive it though. I forgive the game because you know it is an older game and controls were very limited back then. Um, but definitely, if they end up making if they end up remaking it, definitely work on all those flaws because like you know it was kind of the same with like um, I remember playing the Spyro Reignited trilogy, and that's kind of the thing they did was kind of take some of those old flaws and they fix them. Like they fix the camera. The camera is way smoother now, and you use an analog stick instead of using the trigger buttons. That's a whole lot easier. Um, the game, I mean, obviously the game runs a lot smoother than it used to. Uh, the controls are a little bit more responsive. Uh, graphics probably need to look better. However, first thing you should do before working on the graphics, I feel like a lot of companies make this mistake. They focus on making the game look good before working on the actual game. And I feel like that's why a lot of games, even AAA games, can end up being a huge flop because they focused more on looking at on making it look good rather than the actual gameplay first. Um, so just focus on the gameplay, and then once that is all sorted out, then then you can worry about making it look good. And I say the same for Legacy of Kain. The entire series has its flaws, um, but definitely for a lot of those games, the pros outweigh the cons, in my opinion. Even for Blood Omen 2. And Blood Omen 2 is definitely the black sheep of the Legacy of Kain series. However, I still enjoy playing it because uh, I don't care much for the story. The story is a little off. Uh, I don't like the story just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. It's not a terrible story, but there's a few holes in there that I just never really understood. They don't explain a lot of things in that. However, the gameplay, like the combat, for example, the combat in that game is awesome. I love the combat in that game. They really did a great job with that one. Um, as far as the actual combat in that game. Um, I still would say it's probably my least favorite of all the Legacy of Kain games, but it's not a terrible game either. Anyways, Soul Reaver, definitely my favorite Legacy of Kain game, and definitely up there as one of my favorite games. Just, it definitely means a lot to me because I remember kind of growing up with that game. Uh, and it's a game that I still go back and play to this day. It has a lot of importance to me. Um, I think that's all I really have to say about it. Anyways, what about you? What's another game for you?
Um, See, my next game, I think, well, I think it's going to be a game that I don't think you've ever played, but it's the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. And I mean, it's probably one of the best RPGs that's out there. I mean, it's such a good game. There's so much content, so many different quest lines to do, so many different parts of the map to see and explore, all kinds of dungeons and stuff to do. I mean, it's just you'll never run out of stuff to do in Skyrim. Um, the storyline is also just a really good story with your character being the Dragonborn and having the ability to essentially communicate with dragons in a way and speak in the dragon's language. Um, I don't know. It's just a really fun game. I mean, it's been around forever. I mean, it just keeps getting released on every new console that comes out. It's been re-released a lot.
Yeah, it's interesting. I definitely know a lot of people love Skyrim. Um, I have never once ever played it though, but I've heard so many people talk about it. And at one point I do actually want to play it because I think there have been other Elder Scrolls games made since Skyrim, but I don't think people
Only the
care.
Elder Scrolls Online, and it's not very good.
Oh, okay.
There's
Um,
not an official sequel out yet.
yeah, I don't think anybody. I think there's been other Elder Scrolls titles though. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
Um, but Skyrim seems to be the one that a lot of people talk about. Um, and I've never once played it. However, I really do want to, at some point, play the game for myself and just kind of see why people love it so much.
it's a really fun game. I mean, there's just so much to do, so much. It has a lot of character customization. You have all kinds of skill trees to invest in. You could literally go with whatever kind of build you want to go with for your character.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Like you could go with the user like full blown mage if you wanted to. You could go with an archer build. You could go sword and shield if you want to. You could go with a big ass two handed shield or an axe. I mean, there's all you can do anything. Um, I don't know.
Yeah, I definitely want to try the game out for myself at some point. Um,
I mean, you
is
could
my
get it
turn
on
again?
whichever system.
That's true. I could get it on pretty much anything. I think I saw the. I think I got. I think it's the original Elder Scrolls games for free on Steam. Uh, I haven't actually played them though. I just saw that they were free, so I downloaded them, and I never got around to playing them. But these are like very Doom style looking games, old school Doom style games is what they look
I mean, some of the
like.
older ones I think kind of. I mean, some of the older ones I think kind of were like that.
Yeah, which I could definitely play that type of stuff because I mean I never really cared that much about like graphics or anything like that. I can actually just sit and play a game even if the characters look all blocky and whatever. Um, as long as the gameplay is fun, um,
Yeah,
then I don't really care if the graphics are bad as long as the game is just fun to play. Um, but yeah, I definitely need to actually play just Skyrim at some point because I mean that was when did that game originally come out? Like 2008 or something?
hang on, I don't. It was. Let's see. 2011.
2011. Okay, so a little bit more recent than I thought. However, that's still quite a while back. Um,
11 years ago.
yep.
No, yeah, 11 years ago.
So I think I definitely need to at some point play that game for myself. Um, whenever I get the time to do so. All right. So, is it my turn again?
Yup.
Okay. Um so we've already talked about Red Dead, so I'll skip that and I'll just go for let's see. I kind of want to be very specific. I know okay, so Metal Gear I obviously love the whole series. Well, most of it. Most of the whole series, that is. The ones made by Hideo Kojima are the ones that are really good. Because not all of them were. But I would say the one that really stands out to me would probably be Metal Gear Solid 3. Um, it was a very different tone compared to um, Metal Gear Solid 1 and 2. Um, because both of those games were supposed to be like a few years in the future, and it's very like sci-fi and everything. Um, but it was interesting because Metal Gear Solid 3, while still keeping the same sci-fi style, Metal Gear Solid 3, instead of taking place in the a few years in the future, Metal Gear Solid 3 took place like during the Cold War era. Um, and instead of you playing as Solid Snake, you play as Naked Snake, who is actually Big Boss. Um, but it's interesting. It's a very interesting game because, like, while I do love like the original Metal Gear Solid, um, the original uh, top-down style, I mean, it wasn't terrible. However, that style had a very limited type of play style, and the combat was hard. I mean, it wasn't hard, but sometimes uh, Snake wouldn't always punch when you told him to punch. You're kind of counting on him to do the combo, and sometimes he wouldn't. Sometimes he would throw like three punches out there instead of doing the punch punch kick, like he's supposed to. Um, so I love Metal Gear Solid 1. It's still very important, and a lot of the Metal Gear Solid games are very important to me. But Metal Gear Solid 3 particularly stuck with me because um, I usually really admire games when they can go off this sort of historical fiction, and Metal Gear Solid 3 took that idea and took it to a completely different level, taking place in a Cold War era, but instead of just like you're playing out like actual events or something like that, um, or something close to actual events. Instead of doing that, it was like actual like nuclear cyborgs and stuff, and nuclear robots existed during that time, which obviously in real life that didn't happen. But it was a really cool idea because, like, what if something like that actually happened? What if there were giant robots that had nukes on them and stuff like that? It's a very interesting idea that that took place during like the Cold War and stuff. Um, and I think that's like one of the reasons that Metal Gear Solid 3 stuck out to me, but also like kind of keeping the same sort of play style as the first two games. The only difference is you actually get a camera that you can control instead of having the same top down style that the other two games had, which wasn't, again, those games are not terrible because of it. That's not what I'm saying. But there were definitely some limitations to those games because of it. boy, this tower is going to be the death of me.
Oh
I
boy.
didn't even realize that this tower was right here. You know, coming up with all these interesting ideas, and the idea that one of the bad guys has like electrical powers and stuff. Um, it's a really cool idea, and it's definitely up there as one of my favorite games to go back and play. I mean, I love going back and playing a lot of the Metal Gear Solid games, but Metal Gear Solid 3 uh, has a lot of joy um, to replay. And it's also like it's probably one of my favorite games as far as like doing boss fights and stuff. The boss fights are awesome. I love the boss fights. There's so many things you can do in each boss fight. And I mean, every Metal Gear game has awesome boss fights, but Metal Gear Solid 3 really stood out to me as far as the boss fights go. Um, there was just so much variety and stuff, and you had to do all these different things to be able to succeed in the boss fight. Um, it just had a really cool um, idea for every boss fight that it threw at you. Um, but I love a lot of the games that Hideo Kojima has made. He makes some awesome games. Metal Gear is definitely up there for me. And recently we've had Death Stranding, which I played through the whole game there, and it's an awesome game. I love it.
You
Um,
finally beat it.
yes, I finally beat it. It's a really good game and a bit of a tearjerker. I'm gonna be honest.
It's a really good story. The gameplay is a bit tedious, but the story is really good.
The gameplay can be a little bit tedious. I understand like the walking. I understand the point of the walking, and sometimes the walking can be relaxing. But sometimes what really frustrates me is like when you've got like the rough going areas, like the mountains and stuff that you got to climb up, and sometimes it's not as easy as just putting up a ladder or something. Um, so sometimes that can be a little frustrating, but for the most part, the gameplay is pretty fun. I definitely enjoy it, and from time to time, I'll get in just to do some more deliveries and stuff. Because Christ, okay. Let's see. I was saying something. Oh yeah, the gameplay is pretty fun for the most part, and sometimes I will get back into the game and just do some deliveries because sometimes just walking around is it's relaxing at times. Um, but yeah, Hideo Kojima is a genius, and I really wish he could still make more Metal Gear Solid games. They are definitely an important part of gaming history and everything. Uh, and they're definitely his baby, you know? And I think Konami really screwed him over. But uh, I think it's probably time to move on and embrace a new story. Death Stranding being that new story. Uh, that uh, I think they're already talking about making a sequel, and I'm very excited for that. Um, But yeah, I love Metal Gear Solid 3. That is definitely my favorite. Your turn.
All right, so I had an idea. So we can either continue with what we're doing, we'll just keep saying our top games, or we can take a break for a second from that and talk about some games that wouldn't be in our top five.
Oh, that is also interesting. Okay, so we can. All right, so what we'll do is we'll take turns doing doing a game that we like, and then a game that we don't like. All right, so you start with a game that you don't like.
I don't like. Huh.
That you absolutely hate and would definitely be like
That's
one
a,
of your least favorite games ever.
like I have games that I don't necessarily hate, but I would never put as one of my top games.
Okay, fair enough. Just go with that then.
Um, well, for one, this one might ruffle some feathers.
Oh boy, here we go.
I'm going to say Call of Duty. Now, I like the Call of Duty games. They're fun games, but they would never be like a top game for me because they're more or less each Call of Duty is basically the same thing. It's just going around shooting at people.
I
It's not
yeah,
much.
I I definitely understand that. Like the only one that really stands out to me as a good game would be the original Black Ops. That one really stood out. And Black Ops 2 was pretty good too. But um the original Black Ops game had such a unique story. Also, kind of having that um, Cold War era um, story and everything, but also adding a little bit more to it, and it's kind of that whole like historical fiction type thing. Um, and I think it was just a very interesting perspective and everything. Um, However, the rest of them just really pale in comparison to that storyline, in my opinion. Um, there's a lot of people who are like, "Man, I love the Modern Warfare games," and it's like, I've
It's a
never,
pretty good campaign.
I've never. I mean, I'm sure I've never really played through the whole thing. However, um, I'm sure they're good games, but I don't think they could compare to the story that the original Black Ops does. And I'm sure that's probably gonna piss a lot of people off, but honestly, that's just how I feel about it. And yep, I don't really care how any of you really feel about it. I mean, I should probably actually just play through some of the Modern Warfare games, but personally, I like when it comes to any game that has like that has modern warfare type game, and I'm not just talking about like Call of Duty or anything, but just any game with modern type of gameplay is a game that I can enjoy for the most part, but chances are I'm never going to pick it up again because the story is probably not going to mean much to me. I'm probably gonna play it once and then just be like, "Yep, played that. Never gonna play it again." Um, and I know that people think that think I've heard people say that like Modern Warfare 2 is like really emotional and stuff. Uh, which okay, maybe it is. Maybe it is. I don't know. I've never played it. I've never played through the story. Um, but still, I just think that there are too many too many games that are like modern warfare style and everything, and I just don't care for that. Like I can even when it comes to movies, like movies, games, if it's like modern warfare style, I am probably not going to care for it that much. I mean, I'll like when it comes to movies or games, I'll watch or play it once and then probably never pick it up again.
Yeah. Like the weird thing about like Call of Duty, like especially when it comes to, like the Modern Warfare, is like you have the original Modern Warfare series, and then you have the new ones. So now
Right.
it's all confusing.
Right. Yeah. That's
But
yeah, and I don't know if they have any like if they're anything like each other or if they're completely different. But that's going
I
to
have
make
no idea. Not,
things very confusing because then do I play the new ones or do I play the old ones to understand what people are hyping these games about? Which one do I do?
like I like the original Modern Warfare series. Those campaigns were all pretty good. I enjoyed those. I liked the original Black Ops campaign. Never got to get through Black Ops 2 because mine kept freezing, so I never got to finish that campaign, unfortunately. Didn't like Black Ops 3's campaign. Black Ops 4 didn't have a campaign. And then Cold War had a really good campaign. I liked that one. Um, I liked Call of Duty World War II's campaign, but that might just be me. I like the World War II setting all the times again. I think it's kind of fun. I thought it was a really good campaign,
Yeah.
although Vanguard wasn't very good.
Yeah. I definitely yeah, I'm definitely kind of the same way when it comes to any sort of like war style game. I'm definitely leaning towards anything that's like maybe World War II or like Cold War. I don't know, just anything that's very historic. That's the type of uh, that's the type of shooting game that I can really enjoy, and sometimes maybe even futuristic. However, Call of Duty has also tried the whole futuristic thing, and Call of Duty did a horrible job at it. And
That
I
is true.
feel I feel like the biggest thing is like Call of Duty definitely excels at like very realistic type of battle simulation, and to have something like that suddenly try and do the whole sci-fi future futuristic battle scenario thing was just a really huge flop in my opinion. I never liked any of the games that they came out with that were all like futuristic and stuff. Like playing uh I think I've played Infinite Warfare and I've played
I
Black
played
Ops
that.
3. Infinite Warfare I didn't even finish. I think I completely sold that game. And Black Ops 3, I did not finish the campaign because I was sick of it. It was not pulling me in enough. And I mean, I like playing Black Ops 3 as far as like the zombie mode and maybe even the multiplayer. Um but other than that, it it just did not grasp me in the same way as any of the other Call of Duty games. Hang on, I'll be right back.
Okay.
All right,
Yeah.
maybe I need to use something else to help me along the way.
Well, all right. So, what's one of your, I guess, either least favorite games or just a game that wouldn't make it into your top? Just a
Hmm.
game you don't like very much, I guess.
Man. I mean, Call of Duty is definitely up there. Um, I think I was actually gonna name that anyways. Especially Black Ops 3, I would say. Maybe even Infinite Warfare, because that one I hated more because
Oh,
probably
that one was
because
terrible.
probably because Infinite Warfare had absolutely nothing good about it. Because at least Black Ops 3, you can enjoy some of the other game modes. It was just the campaign that I hated. But
Yeah.
Infinite
Infinite Warfare
Warfare,
tried to do zombies and they didn't even do that well.
oh my god, the zombies was so god awful. Like, I thought that um I thought that um Black Ops 2 had bad zombies. I was proven wrong. And not that Black Ops 2 had absolutely terrible zombies, but it was definitely a huge step down from Black Ops 1 zombies.
It wasn't bad, just they just didn't have very many good maps for Black Ops 2. Other than
Yeah.
like Origins and Mob of the Dead,
Yeah.
they didn't have any really good maps.
Which were DLC, hey, you had to pay more to get the good ones, so that kind of
That's true.
sucked. Um, but let me think here. I want to really think about a game that I could never play again, ever or ever play again. Um,
Blood Omen 2.
no, actually, surprisingly enough, I can sit down and play that again. And I have a few times because it is not at all a bad game whatsoever. I just think the story could have been better. If they would have made some adjustments to the storyline, uh, then that could have definitely been more enjoyable for me.
True.
I would probably say a game that uh hmm I would probably say, and I know I'm probably saying this for the meme or whatever, but probably Getting Over It.
Oh lord. I
And I
started playing that again.
You did.
I did.
Yeah, I don't know if I can actually go back and attempt to play that again, cuz it was like it wouldn't even matter what I did. I would try stuff. I would try everything like a different way every time to see if I could change the mistakes that I made before, and it still wouldn't it wouldn't make even a little bit of difference. Still, somehow, I would just keep falling and falling and falling, and I don't think I'm ever going to go back to that game unless somebody paid me a lot of money to do so. If somebody paid me to go back and play Getting Over It again, I would, but nobody's paying me any money, so for right now, that game will remain untouched for a long time.
Did you see
Um,
that Markiplier recently went back and did it again?
I did see that, and honestly, I am very surprised that he would even think about going back.
It was kind of hilarious, actually. It's like he gets like all the way, like he was at the end, and then he fell all the way back down.
Oh yeah, yeah, yep. And that right there, that is something. that just goes to show that even if you have played the game before, you can still manage to screw it up, because it's a game that does not, like, skill does not matter. And I know there's a whole bunch of speed runs and stuff. I'm convinced that those are not real. Cause there's no way. There's
It's
no
possible.
way. I don't believe it. Personally, I do not believe it. I think they are full of crap. They're editing it. They're putting in bots or whatever. I don't believe them. They are full of shit. Okay, so I get.
I'm gonna go another game that I love. I'm gonna go with the Batman Arkham games. I mean, those are just some of
Yeah.
like the best superhero games that you can play. I mean, they're all just really good in the story. I mean, it's just all amazing. Like actually getting to explore like every aspect of Batman, the stealth, the combat, the detective side of things. I mean, it's just they're all just such fun games and fighting iconic villains and everything. And the mechanics and the fighting, the combat mechanics, everything are just so good. And obviously, the combat mechanics from Batman Arkham obviously were a heavy inspiration for the combat mechanics in Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
And there was just really fun games. Obviously, they got like the best voice actors for Batman. You got Kevin Conroy for Batman, who unfortunately just passed away recently. But
Oh, wow! I didn't even know that.
yeah, he just passed away not too long ago.
Oh, that's real sad. He had a really
Like he
good.
was,
He had a really good Batman voice.
he was like the definitive Batman. Like he was like the animated series, Batman Beyond. Well, Bruce Wayne and Batman Beyond, the Justice League animated series, a bunch of movies, the Arkham games. I mean, he pretty much he was Batman.
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
you have Mark Hamill's Joker also appearing in the Arkham games, and that's just amazing.
definitely a just an absolutely, like, that is like, um there's always this debate about who's the real Batman, who's the real Joker and everything. Um and I mean, I don't know how to really argue such things. As far as okay, so live action, I would say for Batman and for Joker, I would say the live action Batman would probably be Michael Keaton,
I could see that.
and my live action Joker would be Heath Ledger. Now, as far as voice, uh, I would definitely agree with you on the Batman, definitely, um, and the Joker, because both of them are just so iconic in every way. We mentioned this not too long ago. Spider Man, Spider Man PS4, and also, well, the new Spider Man. Um, I absolutely love it. It's definitely up there,
It's such a fun game.
and definitely, obviously, definitely inspired by Batman, um, the Batman Arkham games. But Spider Man added a little bit more. You just kind of got this full idea of what it means to be Spider Man, and the web swinging. was and still is absolutely uh, very well done. A lot of people talked about like Spider-Man 2, the video game, how that had like the best web swinging for a long time, and then the new Spider-Man came out and absolutely blew Spider-Man 2 out of the water. The combat has that kind of.
Oh, son of a bitch!
Did you get kicked?
I did.
I was wondering what that lag spike was all about. Really cool because you really get the idea of what it means to be full, um, a fully upgraded Spider-Man and everything, instead of just, I mean,
No, I'm back.
great. Instead of just the web swinging and using your web shooters and fighting bad guys, which are all cool things and everything, but also getting all of these different web shooting tools to your advantage on top of that uh, really made the game more enjoyable. And um, the Spider-Man has never ever the the new Spider-Man game has never been
What?
any sort of
For us.
I don't think so.
it's never been any sort of frustrating to me. I mean, sometimes you die and then you gotta start over from the checkpoint or whatever. But usually it's pretty easy to kind of learn your mistake the first time, or sometimes the second time that you die, and you're able to learn pretty easily what your mistake was and then go off from there. It was never any sort of frustrating, even when you're playing on the hardest difficulty, because we've both done that. We've both played on like the hardest difficulty, and still managed to play the game pretty easily. Granted, the prompts to counterattack and stuff are a lot quicker and everything. Um, but it never made the game too challenging. Um, but that's definitely up there, and the story is just absolutely beautifully crafted, very well done. Get the um, you get to see all these different characters and stuff. You get to see the Sinister Six and everything. Um, and the story, it's beautiful because I mean you don't get just another origin story or anything. It's all a completely new story. Uh, and I just think they did a really good job on the whole game altogether. The performance was very well. The graphics, I mean, the graphics are. Uh, I think they did better as far as character design. The environments are good enough, um, but nothing to really go crazy over. Um, even when you get like um, even when you look at it like with ray tracing and stuff like that, I mean it looks good, but I don't know. I feel like I've seen better maybe. I think what they really did a good job on are the characters' faces and stuff. Is really That's really what they did a very good job on, is designing their faces, creating every sort of um, emulation to an actual human face and everything. The pores on someone's face, the sweat that someone might leave on their face or whatever. I feel like they did all that very well. Um, so the graphics are really good in that aspect, I would say. Um, but and the game has always performed very well. I've never dealt with any sort of issue as far as performance, uh, and it's just altogether just very fun. Whether you're playing the story or you're just out just fighting crime, or whether you're just swinging around town, it's just an altogether fun game, and it's even got puzzles, which are and those are a lot of fun. Like they're not too frustrating, in my opinion. They're not too frustrating at all. Like you do kind of have to mess with it for a little bit, but eventually the puzzle becomes pretty clear, and you're able to figure it out. But the puzzles are really cool. That was a very cool aspect because obviously, obviously, it's Spider Man and everything, and the web swinging, and the fighting, and all that. But also, people have to remember that Peter Parker is extremely smart, and putting in those puzzles as part of the gameplay was genius because you really get to see just how smart, you really get to, you get the idea of what it means to be a very smart character and be able to help solve those puzzles as Peter Parker, basically. Um, and that's a really cool aspect. And I'm glad that they added that because that's something that most people wouldn't have thought of, but it's such an overlooked detail that I feel like some people forget about sometimes. But I'm so glad that they added it. It was genius. But I love the new Spider-Man game, and Miles Morales is good too. My only problem with Miles Morales is it ended too quickly. The story is too short, in my opinion.
Well, I think it was meant to just be kind of like filler in between the two
Yeah,
games,
yeah,
the main sequel. So it
yeah.
wasn't
That's
made
true.
to be like a big game.
Yeah, that's true. Um, but I cannot wait until they release Spider-Man 2. And my hope is that for Spider-Man 2, they're going to make it so that you can play as both Peter and Miles, whether they do like a co-op thing or whether they do like you know how in the first Spider-Man game you kind of um you'll play as Spider-Man or Peter, um and then you'll go into another scene where you play as Miles Morales, just looking around or sneaking around, or then another scene you'll play as Mary Jane sneaking around and stuff. Um, I wonder if they'll do something like that in Spider-Man 2, where one scene you're playing as Peter Parker, and then the next scene you're playing as Miles, both in two separate parts of the city, uh, doing whatever. But I think that would be a really cool thing to see is if they made it to where because it does seem like Miles Morales it seemed like it was kind of leading up to that, and I really hope that is where they're leading it up to. Because first you had Spider-Man, Peter Parker, and then Miles Morales comes in. Um, so I would really love to see the next Spider-Man game featuring you playing as both of them.
Yeah, probably will.
I hope so. I'd be very disappointed if that weren't the case. I mean, I don't think I would. I don't think I would hate the game, but I would definitely be kind of disappointed if they did not make that a thing.
I think one of my favorite things about the Spider-Man games, though, is all the references to not just the history of Spider-Man, but just to the Marvel universe in general. Like you have Avengers Tower, you have the Sanctum Sanctorum, uh, Matt Murdock's law firm, you have the Wakandan embassy, you have all this stuff, all these references to the entire Marvel universe, and I think it's just really cool.
Yeah, and I don't even know. I don't think it is actually connected to the MCU or not, but I wonder if it is kind of a universe that is similar to the MCU in a way. Because obviously, when it comes to Marvel and like the idea of the multiverse and stuff, um, it's such a huge multiverse with all sorts of different realities, some that are like super different than others, and some that are very similar, but with very slight differences. Um, so I think that uh, it's kind of similar to that of the MCU Spider-Man, but with probably the idea that obviously the Spider-Man that we see in the games is obviously a little bit older than Spider-Man, the Tom Holland Spider-Man in the MCU, because obviously Spider-Man in the games he's already out of college and everything, and he's got an actual job, an actual career, and everything. Whereas MCU Spider-Man is still in high school, not even out of high school yet. And probably a universe where none of the events that happened with like Thanos and all that other stuff that happened. I don't even know if that is in the same universe or not. Um, but it definitely seems to be like when you look at some of the buildings and stuff, it definitely seems to be going for that sort of look, the sort of MCU inspired look. Um, but I wonder if it is just kind of like it's sort of in that universe, but it's a slightly different universe to the MCU.
I'd say it's probably a slightly different universe.
Probably.
Anyway, is it my turn now?
Yes, your turn. I think it's a bad game now.
Oh,
A
okay.
game that you did not care for as much.
I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna go like with an entire genre of games here. I'm gonna say I don't really care for sports games that much. I mean, they're fun to play to get on play, maybe like a game of football or basketball or something, or do like a couple like wrestling matches or something, but they get really boring really quickly.
I definitely agree. Cause like yeah, I definitely I can enjoy a sports game, a little bit. Um, but like there's a lot of people out there who love them and want to buy like every new version that comes out uh every year and everything, and I'm just not one of those people. Like occasionally
Same.
I'll reach a point to where like I'm like, okay, it's been like 10 years since I've gotten a new sports game. I think now is the time to get a new one. Like that's usually how long it takes. It takes up to maybe like 10 years before I'm actually like, all right, time to get the new Madden game or something. Like I really
What?
am
What?
just like I really
Jesus
am
Christ! What was
just
that?
what happened? What happened?
My guy was like having a seizure trying to go up the ladder.
Oh. Oh, okay. Weird. But definitely I'm definitely I enjoy them to a certain extent. But heck, even with like WWE games, uh I enjoy them, but I'm not going to buy every single one that comes out. I'm not going to do that for any of the sports games. Like I will sit there and play the same one for like a few years, and then at some point I might buy the newest one. Yeah, that's true. If I see something that's on sale or something, I might grab it. But chances are I'm not gonna go out of my way most of the time to get sports games. Always, and usually like I might ask for it for like Christmas or something. Um, but if I don't get it, then I'm like, I don't really care that much. Oh, there's just too much to do in here.
All
Whatever.
right, your turn. What's a game you don't like?
Okay. So genre, huh?
It doesn't have to be a genre. I just went with a genre.
Okay. Well, let me think here. Um.
I didn't mean to do that.
Hmm.
Ah, shit. Ah, shit. Ah, shit.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. I do have a game that I've just thought about.
Okay.
The Avatar: The Last Airbender video game. I don't.
Okay. Wait,
I
what?
don't. I don't know if you've ever played it or not,
Uh,
but
if-
I have, and I've played through the whole thing, and I have absolutely no desire to go back and play it again because it's a very disappointing game. Because you play as Aang, Katara, Sokka, and occasionally Haru. I think his name is. I think it's Haru from he's the Earthbender.
yeah,
Yeah.
true.
Okay. Couldn't be sure. I knew it started with an H. Um, but you play as each of them uh through most of the game, and it's disappointing because like your abilities seem so limited for characters who should be able to do so many cool things as benders and everything. It really seems like you cannot do that much. It's like, and it's very disappointing because like when it comes to your abilities, like first off, there's the normal attack. There's just your basic combo attack. Um, so like with Aang, it would be like just hitting people with your stick, with your staff. Um, for Katara, she's just gonna splash some water at some guys. For Sokka, he's gonna hit some guys with his club. Um, and yeah, that's just the basic attack. But then you have you're able to slowly unlock more abilities. You're able to get upgrades and stuff and unlock more abilities, but you can only equip a certain amount of abilities. You can only equip, I believe you can only equip 4 abilities, and you basically have like the hotkeys to use the abilities, and it would be uh like I don't know, uh, there'd be an ability to increase your damage, or there would be an ability to do like a splash attack or something, something like that. But you pick those abilities, and then those are the abilities that you have. Um, Unless you want to switch them out for something else. But it's just like that is so limited. You can only use 4 other abilities other than your normal attack. You can't do anything else, and it's just very disappointed. I was very disappointed with the game, and it came out on PS2, and I think it came out on Wii at one point, but it was just very disappointing. I didn't like the game. I know there's other Avatar games. I've never played the other ones, but I've played just Avatar: The Last Airbender, and it was just very disappointing.
I've played The Last Airbender on the Wii. I don't remember what it was like. It's been so long, but I've played it.
The movie one.
Yes.
Yes. I believe I had The Last Airbender for DS, and I don't think I cared for that one either, to be honest. I think the I think what was different about that one was you played as both Aang and Zuko. I think
I think so. I don't remember.
I
It's been
believe that's
a
what
while.
happened. But I think the combat was really dumb in that one too, if I'm not mistaken. Which I know as far as portable portable games go, you're never really looking at a game with amazing gameplay because it's a portable game and whatever. Um, but when you think of Last Airbender, you're kind of hoping to have a decent amount of options of how to use your bending skills and everything. It's the same with making superhero games because there's been a lot of bad ones. There's been good ones and there's been bad ones. Um, and you've got to be careful with when making certain games like that because sometimes you can make a genuinely good experience and other times you make an experience that is extremely lacking.
Yeah. Is it my turn now?
Yes, I believe so.
So we're
i
back on good games, right?
I think so, yes. Good games now.
I think I'm going to go with probably what's probably one that we both say is one of our favorite games. And a game that we are highly anticipating the sequel for. And that would be The Forest. Probably one of the
Yes.
best survival games we've ever played. It was a really fun game, had a really interesting story with it. It was just kind of cool to kind of unravel that story and see all the things that were going on and everything. It was a really really good survival game. I think done really well.
I'm gonna have to agree with that one. It's definitely like it's an awesome survival game, first off, but just like co-op in general, like that's one of the best co-op games that I've probably ever played. Just being able to experience a really cool story together is
Yeah,
such a cool aspect and everything. Um, and I think the Forest did it very well. I think now that they are making a sequel to it, I don't know what stages they're in now, but they've been moving the release date quite a bit. So that makes it seem like they're trying to put as much effort as they can into this game, which is good. Um, but um, I would definitely appreciate maybe some more, maybe some dialogue, um, and maybe some voice acting in the game. That would be pretty cool. Um, Definitely kind of keep the survival aspect. Um, and I think maybe we could also use a little bit more tuning is um, probably the melee could use a little bit more fine tuning because there were some times where the melee could be a little bit frustrating at times. Um, but it was definitely a pretty cool experience as far as like survival games go. Because it was definitely just like more than meets the eye type thing. It's not just a survival horror game. There's more than just surviving. You gotta unravel this whole story and everything
yeah.
as you go on. It's a really cool idea, and I really wonder where they're gonna take the next one. I have some assumptions that maybe we're gonna play as Timmy, I think his name is the little
I don't
boy.
know.
The
Could have been.
the name son of the forest kind of makes me feel like that's what they're gonna imply is that's what they're implying is that you're gonna play as Timmy, the son of the guy who was on the forest, uh, or maybe they have some other plans. I have no idea, but I'm very interested to see where they're going to take it, um, and definitely make it. I would definitely say make it a step up from the original because as much as I love seeing the cannibals and their monsters and stuff, it'd be really cool to see like new enemies and bring in new ways of surviving. Make crafting a little bit more less stressful and everything.
Yeah,
But yeah, very good game. I think maybe definitely give it a little bit more polish than the first one. The first one was good. It just lacked a certain polish, I would say. So maybe add a little bit more there. Maybe maybe even have some more like character choices because it seemed like you were just kind of stuck with certain characters, and sometimes you would get stuck with characters. If you were if you were play if you were playing with multiple people, sometimes you might be getting stuck with the same characters. So you'd be getting like the two bald guys or something. You'd get the same bald guy, and you'd just be staring at each other like, "Yep, we're both the same bald guy. We're twins."
yeah,
Um, but I think definitely uh, give some more options on stuff like that. Um, yeah, I think there's definitely some room for improvement on
yeah.
certain stuff, but I'd say it was definitely a very good game, and I can't wait to see what they have in store for the sequel.
Yeah, it's kind of what I wish. Like Subnautica, and it's like Subnautica is also it's a really good survival game, and it has a really cool story and stuff. But I just wish that was co-op. It'd be so much fun to play in co-op, but
Right.
it's not
I've never actually played Subnautica, but I've heard a lot of people talk about it.
fun. It's a good game. I watched. Have you watched Jacksepticeye's playthrough of it?
I don't think I have. No, I don't
No.
think I have. But I've heard people talk about it. I think it's a game that would probably give me a lot of anxiety because like rafts can sometimes give me anxiety with the whole shark thing and everything.
What, are you scared of the water?
Definitely. But at least with the raft, you're not you're not forced into the water all the time. You got the raft to jump into safety a lot of the time. Whereas Subnautica, it's kind of only around water most of the time, only in the water.
Yeah. So what's your next good game?
Hmm. My next good game. Uh. hmm, that's a very good question. Um. Okay, here's one. This one's kind of not super popular, but I mean, it used to be very popular back during the like PS3 era and stuff, but not anymore. But a game that really stuck with me um, was the Resistance series, and I think particularly, it's kind of a hard decision. I think Resistance 2 was probably my favorite. Uh, Resistance 2 was probably the scariest, I would say. But it was a very interesting take on like the idea of aliens and stuff, and really like made the aliens absolutely terrifying and made all these different types of aliens. Uh, it's kind of like if you were to. Whoa, I'm falling to my death.
All right, I was just
Oh
spinning this
my
around so
god.
we get better.
I mean, I know you can't actually die in this game, but that was still scary to suddenly drop like that.
I didn't know it would let me pick it up with you on it. I didn't know you were on it.
No, I was about to jump on it, and that's when you took it. um, but yeah, Resistance is definitely a series that's like, what if Halo was terrifying? Is kind of what it's doing. And the whole idea that like the guns that you have, like most of them are like alien weapons and stuff, but they all have like secondary uses and stuff instead of just um the main fire, the primary fire and everything. You've got like other the secondary uses and stuff, like some can generate shields and some can fire grenades, and some could like fire turrets out of them and stuff. They had all these really cool uses for the weapons and stuff. But Resistance 2 was very interesting. I think Resistance 2, um, was definitely the scariest, and I think it had like the best story in my opinion. Um, I love all the games. I love all three of them. I just wish that they would have created more because that was an awesome series. But there's three games and all three of them were released on PS3 and never anything. Well, I mean, there were some made on like the PSP and the PS Vita, which I haven't played those, but they're not actual games. I don't consider those actual games. Because they're just little portable games. Um, you get to play them on the play them on the go and everything, and that's fine and everything. But it's not the full potential of what the game could actually be. I think it would have been a whole lot better if they would have like when they announced Falling Skies, for example. That was a game that ended up being released on PS Vita. I think they should have made that for PS4. It would have definitely been better, in my opinion. Um, and yeah, I think that that series definitely means a lot to me, and especially Resistance 2 was a big deal to me. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's all I really got to say about that. Any more for you?
Uh, I got some bad games.
Oh yeah,
I
that's right. We're on the bad games now.
don't know if you played them or not, but the Amazing Spider-Man games
I played
were
the first
terrible.
one. Yes, I played the
They're
first one.
they were both terrible.
Yeah,
Just one, they didn't have anything to. They were supposed to be based off the movies, but they had almost nothing to do with the movies. They didn't even get the actors for the movies to voice the characters like they did with the Raimi games.
yeah,
The web swinging was terrible. The combat was okay, but the web swinging just, especially the first one, the web swinging was just awful.
yeah.
Uh,
I don't think I played the second one. The first one wasn't bad, but it was just like the combat was good. Like it was also kind of Arkham inspired and everything, and the story was meh. All right, whatever. But like I knew that there were like side missions you could do, but I had like there was no drive for me to do any of the side missions. None of them were fun. None of the side missions were fun to do. It's not like the new Spider-Man games where it's like, oh, they're fun. You gotta stop these crimes and stuff and be be actual Spider-Man and everything. No, it didn't. It didn't feel like that. It's just it was tedious. So it's
yeah,
just like I'll play the main game and that'll be it. Then I beat the main story and then I think I tried to do some side missions after that, but then I was just like, man, none of these are fun. I'm done with this game. This game is kind of lacking, you know. Um,
the Amazing Spider-Man 2 had a really obnoxious mechanic where it had like you're just like in free roam, like after, especially like after you do the main story, you just want to go in like free roam and just mess around. You
mhm.
essentially you had this meter that you had to keep up. Like crimes would like constantly like popping up, and you'd have to keep like constantly on like stopping like these crimes, saving people, and doing stuff. Or this meter would go down, and you'd be labeled a menace. And the further down that went, it just became more and more obnoxious as you'd start getting like all kinds of uh, people and stuff after you while you're just trying to swing around, and it just became real obnoxious just to keep that up.
Wow, that is really annoying.
yeah, it's obnoxious. Like you can't just go and swing around. Like you have to basically be stopping crimes. You can't just
Right.
swing around and just enjoy it for a minute.
Yeah, that's really annoying when like I understand if like you if you have started a mission where it's something like that, like there's a time trial mission or something like that, which honestly I don't like those types of missions anyway. But that would be a very different story compared to you just being in free roam and the game forcing you to do things that you don't want to do, or else it's going to make the game more difficult for you. And it's like, why are you forcing the player to do all these things instead of letting the player just enjoy themselves? You know, that's
Yeah,
kind of what I like about like the new Spider-Man game and everything. I mean, there there are times where people are after you and everything, and sometimes you'll get ambushed occasionally, but it's a very occasional thing, and it's still something that you can potentially get away from most of the time. It's not something where you are being forced into combat constantly, and even then, it's like it's so occasional, it's so rare most of the time. Like occasionally you'll
yeah,
get like the sable guys will want to bring you down and whatever, but they're just on the rooftops and they might shoot their rocket launchers at you. But you can easily avoid that if you want to avoid a fight. But you have that option. You have the option to either go down there and fight them or completely ignore them.
yeah.
But I don't
Well,
like it when games make you play something like that when you don't want to do something and they're making you do it.
well, you have any last bad games to talk about before we finish this here?
Let me think here.
Brown.
I really need to think of a good one. Hmm.
And
Dang.
have you come
Testing.
up with one yet?
Um. Why am I stuck?
The game is giving
Um.
you time to come up with one here.
Thanks? Question mark. Um.
Here, I don't even. I don't understand.
Um. Okay. Here's one. Fable 3.
Never played it.
This was a game that came out on the Kinect. I thought it was going to be fun. Turns out it wasn't fun. Turns out not fun at all. I couldn't even finish the game. It was so bad. Cause like I'm sitting there for like a solid hour already, just sitting there whipping a horse. I haven't gotten to any sort of fighting or anything. I'm just whipping a horse. And I'm doing that for about an hour when I decide, nope, I'm done. And yep, that's about all I have to say about that. But a lot of people didn't like Fable 3 anyways, because yeah, it's just annoying, and I'm pretty sure that's like most of the game is you're whipping a horse. You're not really doing a whole lot. I think occasionally I think I do remember like you occasionally would use a little bit of magic while whipping your horse. But why would I want to do that? Why would I want to multitask? Why would you force me to multitask? Yeah. I don't know. But Fable 3, hated it. Couldn't even finish it. It was bad. All right, now where's this
Where?
office wall?
I these office walls are all clean. Game, what do you want?
All right, are you able to get another game that you like?
Another game that I like. Oh, okay. Hmm. Hmm.
Okay, where? Where? Tell me where. Office walls, 11 out of 12. It's 95% clean. All right. Well, please enlighten me. Where where is it dirty?
Like, well, I'm gonna go with one that just came out. I'm gonna go with God of War Ragnarok. Well, the God of War games generally when they're. I've never really played the original God of War, but the two new ones are really good games. They're really fun.
I don't think I've played them yet,
Oh, they're so
but
good.
I have heard good things about them.
I haven't beat Ragnarok yet, but so far it's good.
I think I've been I need to get back into this, but I've been playing the original, the very first God of War game.
I need to play the original. I have I think God of War. I have God of War 2 on my PS2. I think I have God of War 3 remastered. We got at some point on PS Plus.
Nice.
I think.
Where is this wall?
No. But yeah, the God of War games are kind of interesting because like the original ones, like take place, in Greece, in Sparta, and you're dealing with the Greek gods, and then the new ones you're dealing with the Norse gods.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Come on, you're around there
Where
somewhere. It's
where
around
is
here
this
somewhere.
tiny speck of dirt?
Oh, I found you. Found you. Got it.
Oh,
Hey, FA,
oh,
any chance you can come hose down our spare truck? The mayor's running us ragged over here. Alright, I'll get to that eventually. Oh my god, that was
it was
so
up
long.
here.
Yeah, it was up there. It was underneath the thing, and you might see it at the end of this replay here, but I had to like I had to like
I didn't even
crouch
know that
down up
was
there.
there.
It was underneath the little
I
red thing. It was
didn't even know that was under there.
yeah, it was all under there.
Oh God, damn it!
Yep. A lot of fun that was. Alright. I am going to call it a night.